We are continuing our discussion about distance measurement methods. We're going to talk about taping and chaining quite a bit in this class. So here's where we begin. So the first surveying method up until the 1970s, as I told you, it has changed drastically in the last 50 years, but 1970s, a lot of it was done using 100-foot steel ribbon tape, and it was called chaining, even though it's tape. And why is it called chaining? There was this thing called Gunter's chain, which is composed of heavy wire links, and it was available in several lengths. It looks something like this. So if you pulled from this end and this end, let's say that this was a 66 foot long one, then you could just know, and you could mark the beginning and end and know that that was 66, etc. So now that we have replaced that with steel tape, some people still call it chaining, although some people just call it throwing tape and whatever. The measurement of distance with steel tape is probably one of the most difficult parts of good surveying work, and you would think, well, it's just tape. What's to it? Well, we're going to talk about it a lot, mostly over in the next chapter, so in a little bit. Yeah, so that's all you need to know for now. Next, let's talk about electronic distance measurement devices. So these use either light waves, electromagnetic waves, infrared, lasers to measure distance. And the way it works is these things are associated with waves, and if you point a laser towards the wall, it's designed so it can measure how fast it hit the wall, or how many, that's different depending on what method is being used, but in any case, it is fantastic for distances that are hard to access. So let's say you want to measure the distance between a tree on one side of a river and a tree on another side of a river. Well, obviously taping is not an option. So this is great for that. Now, less people need to be involved, and they're great. They're faster, simpler, but they're also more expensive. So that's one of the cons. Another pro is that it's a lot more precise than taping and chaining. Oh, by the way, there's also when it comes to taping and chaining, there's more than just steel tape, and I was going to mention it in the previous slide and I forgot. But again, we'll talk about it later, so no point in me kind of talking about it again. So there's different ones. Here are some examples. They're usually like this, and you can point them to walls. You might have one in your house for all you know. Contractors use them a lot to measure distances inside a house. You can also use them outside. And there's different kinds depending on the application. And last, there is GPS. GPS technology. Now, you're used to thinking of GPS in terms of what's in your car and your navigation system that will take you to a particular place, but this is actually different. GPS, well, it does stand for Global Positioning System in the same way, but it's measuring distances using satellites. So one thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the class is plane surveying involves measuring distances that are short enough so that the curvature of the Earth is not a huge component of it, so we don't have to worry about it much. However, what's awesome about GPS is that it does take it into consideration, and it's extremely precise, but it's also very expensive. So here's a summary of the distance measurement methods that we talked about: pacing, odometer, subtense bar, stadia, ordinary. And then there's a difference between ordinary taping and precision taping. Again, more of it. We'll talk more about that in the future. Baseline taping, electronic distance measurement, and global positioning system. You see here how they vary in precision, but also it's not okay. So here's the thing that I want you to realize. It's not like you're like, should I do pacing or should I do electronic distance measurement? Oh, well, this one always wins. Well, it depends what you want it for. If you're doing reconnaissance or rough planning, these two will be sufficient. If you need to actually do, very precise work, this is good. So it doesn't mean that just because we have GPS that we should use GPS all the time. We should use whatever method is adequate for the amount of precision that we need. Okay, so let me talk a little more about taping. So steel tapes come in various lengths. the 100-foot one is the most popular. They're graduated in feet and hundredths of a feet of a foot, or hundreds of, yeah, foot, whatever. So, or tenths, not just hundreds. But rather than be, you know, like a lot of the tapes you've seen that are in feet have inches marked. So when it hits, you know, you have 1 inch, 2 inch, 11, and when you're about to go into 12, it moves to the next foot. This is not the case. This will have 1 foot, 1 foot, 2, the 2 mark, and in between they just divided into 10 sections. So, or 100 little sections. So it's 100th of a foot. So close to correct length when subjected to 10 or 12 pounds of tension and a temperature of 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to talk about how little things matter, like the tension applied to the tape and the temperature of the tape. And then, we what happens if this is not happening? Well, it doesn't matter in a way. Well, it does, but it's okay if you don't have this much tension or that temperature, because you are going to make some correction adjustments, doing a little bit of math to make sure that you actually have the accurate distance in the end, even if you didn't have the ideal conditions. There are 2 types of tape. One has an add tape and a cut tape. One has an extra foot and the other one doesn't. The extra foot allows you to, they're both read a little differently. This one, I believe, is becoming more common. This is what it used to be. Now this is what a lot of tapes are getting. And this is one of those steel tapes. You kind of, you know, you can pull it from here and measure to there. This thing just kind of unspools, and you can spool it back up with this. It's awesome. It'll come out of here. You'll get to play with steel tapes plenty in this class. There's also fiberglass tapes. Fiberglass tapes are, I think they're a little cheaper actually, and they have some benefits, but honestly steel tapes are way more used more often. Then let's talk about in general, what do you need if you're going to tape? You need to form a taping party. And if you're going to do it, you're going to need some, potentially some range poles, which are these sticks that have feet or meters or something marked on them, like that. You can also have plumb bobs. Plumb bobs look like this, and they help you mark where you're actually, so if you're holding your tape not on the ground, how do you know you're measuring up to the point you need to measure? So let's say that here there's a rock, and you're pulling your tape up here, then you may not be actually, your point may not be actually on top of the rock unless you use this, which hangs from a string next to where you're holding the tape, and it'll tell you, it'll help a lot with precision. We also have taping pins. So let's say that you're trying to measure a field that is more than 100 feet long, and you only have 100-foot long tape. Well, you're going to have to do that several times. So when you hit the 100 feet, you're going to put a little taping pin or a little flag or something that helps you mark the place where you stop, so you can start again from that point and keep measuring. There's also these woven tapes. The woven tapes are a lot less precise, but sometimes used. And when we used to talk about taping, this is the ones we were referring to, but now that's changing. Hand levels. So hand levels, so it's perfect if the ground, great, easy to measure horizontal distances if the ground is perfectly even and flat. That may not always be the case, so that's where hand levels come in, and you can see if the tape is level or not with them. Clamping handles, I don't have a picture, but actually holding the tape back and applying tension is a little trickier than you would imagine, and if you're holding it, you could actually, for a long time, your hands will get tired. So there's this, there are clamping handles that help you grab it properly, read properly, grab the plumb bob. So you have a lot of things going on. You may have, ideally you would have like 4 people in a taping party, but if it's just 2, then you need to be handling a plumb bob and the tape and even a level. So anyway, the clamping handle helps. Okay, so we are going to talk about taping over level ground on the next video.